Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to interview Rush Limbaugh from the great beyond, the big broadcaster from beyond in the sky, however you want to title that? I'm Scott Nutter, and I had ChatGPT or Grok. I can't remember which one I used, but I had it synthesize. No, it was ChatGPT. I remember now. Synthesize a conversation with the El Rushbo, and I said, we're going to act as if I am interviewing him. Now, I tried to get a synthetic version of his voice to put the stuff in there, but everything I used would make me authenticate that it was my voice. Other people can somehow mimic actors and stuff like that. I wasn't able to do that, but I'm just going to read to you some of these and show you some of the pictures that I rendered for them as well. So here's how that big broadcast from beyond happened. Rush Limbaugh, welcome to my show. Thank you for the honor. How are things from the great beyond? Scott, my man, I have to say this is the first time I've done a broadcast from the other side. And let me tell you, the ratings here are huge. But you already know that. The truth is, I've been watching and I have a lot to say, so let's get right into it. First things first. Yes, I'm still on the right side of things. That hasn't changed. But now I've got the ultimate 40,000-foot view. And what do I see? I see America in a battle for its soul, just like I always said. The left hasn't stopped. In fact, they've doubled down. But you know what? I'm not worried, because what I've also seen since I've got here is something the left can't cancel: truth. It always finds a way. And let me tell you, Scott, this place, whatever you want to call it, the afterlife, eternity, the big broadcast in the sky, it runs on truth. No spin, no media narratives, no bureaucrats telling you what you should believe. It's just reality. And reality is a very conservative thing. Now, some of my liberal critics probably thought I was going to arrive and get a big cosmic "I told you so." Well, sorry to disappoint them. But it turns out I was right the whole entire time, with my talent on loan from God. So he goes on in this, but I wanted to get to some questions. Let's see. Now, I tried to get a hold of you before the election, but word came down that you couldn't talk to me until after the election. What happened there? Scott, my friend, I knew you were going to ask this, and let me tell you, buddy, I would have loved to have gotten on your show before the election, but here's the deal. There are rules up here, and as much as I like to push the limits, some things are above even my pay grade. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't muzzled. It's not like some cosmic FCC came down and said, "Rush, you're banned from the airways of eternity." No. It's bigger than that, Scott. See, elections, especially this election, are part of something larger. The free will of the American people that had to play out without interference from the great beyond. So he goes on a little bit. ChatGPT makes him very wordy. He says, "And Scott, let me tell you, had I spoken before November, the media would have lost their minds. Can you imagine CNN breaking, 'Rush Limbaugh speaks from beyond the grave, election interference?' ? They would have called it misinformation from the afterlife. The fact is, some truths are meant to be discovered and not handed down." So I go on. And boy, does he continue. Very wordy. Okay, before we get into what's happening today, let's talk about the 2024 campaign for the presidency. What are your thoughts and how that went? First off, let's talk about these 2 assassination attempts. 2, Scott. If that doesn't tell you how desperate the left is, I don't know what does. They have thrown everything at Trump. Russia collusion hoaxes, scam impeachments, lawfare, media smear jobs, and none of it has stopped him. So now what do we get? Violence, liberal attempts to take him out. And let's be honest, if this had happened to a Democrat, it'd be 24/7 on every network for a year. But because it's Trump, the media is already trying to memory hole it. But you know what? He survived twice. And that, Scott, is what got them really terrified. The man is unstoppable. And now the American people are more galvanized than ever because they see just how far the radical left is willing to go to silence him. Now, of course, I don't think Rush Limbaugh would be lambasting the left and blaming them for this, but the left-wing news media would blame Republicans for incendiary rhetoric that cause violence because they have done that. But when it's their side, they don't do that. They just, oh, it's just a rogue person trying to kill the president. Us saying Hitler and all that stuff. Okay, so now RFK Jr. endorsing Trump, isn't that something? Scott, I always said the Democrat Party left a lot of people behind. RFK Jr. is proof of that. Here's a guy from one of the most iconic Democrat families, and even he sees the writing on the wall. The party of his father and uncles no longer exists. The Democrats today, they're controlled by radical Marxist corporate elites and globalists who couldn't care less about the working class. And RFK Jr., despite his left-wing policies, and at least has the guts to admit that Trump is the only real opposition to the corrupt establishment. Now, does that mean we agree with everything RFK Jr. stands for? No way. But what it does mean is that even some on the left see what's happening, how the deep state, the media, and the bureaucrats are trying to rig the system against one man. And they know they're wrong. That's a big deal. J.D. Vance. Now, this is a fascinating choice, Scott. I remember when this guy was on the scene with Hillbilly Elegy, and the media thought he was just another intellectual who'd stay in the polite conservative lane. But guess what? He learned. He saw firsthand how the ruling class screws over the American worker. And now we've got a VP pick who is young, sharp, and unapologetic about standing up for America first. And on Elon Musk, he says, and now Elon freaking Musk, Scott, this is where it gets really fun because think about it. Who does the left hate almost as much as Trump these days? Musk. Here's a guy who was their darling when he was just making electric cars, but the moment he started defending free speech and exposing the censorship industrial complex with the Twitter files, oh no, suddenly he's problematic. Suddenly he's a threat to democracy. Because we can't have people thinking for themselves. That would be dangerous, right? Elon Musk endorsing Trump is a seismic shift, Scott. He's the wealthiest man in the world. He's got reach. He's got influence. And this is key. He's got proof of how the government tried to control speech. Musk's endorsement is not just about supporting Trump. It's about making sure the American people understand that we are in a war for free expression, for truth, for the rights to think without the government or big tech deciding what's allowed. This is huge. So let's wrap this up. Trump survives 2 assassination attempts. RFK Jr. breaks with the Democrats to back him. J.D. Vance is set to bring energy and loyalty to the ticket, and Elon Musk, the most powerful entrepreneur of all time, is throwing his weight behind Trump. He pauses as if smiling. They have this in there. Scott, you know that what this sounds like to me? A reckoning. The establishment thought that they could shut Trump down. They tried everything, and now he's back, coming back stronger than ever with an army of support who see exactly what's at stake. Okay. And I've got pictures here I'm going to put in there. You already know that because you're watching it, and I've already put them in there because I'm reading this from my blog, which I'll also link into there. And let me know if you want more of this, because I could do more. I've got another one I could do because I ask him what heaven's like and all that, and it's pretty interesting. So I asked him, what was the thing that elected Trump? The assassination attempt, the Elon Musk endorsement, or the RFK endorsement, or something else? Now, this is a really good answer. Just remember, like, this is ChatGPT amalgamizing Rush's voice and intellect. Scott, my friend, this is the question, isn't it? Well, let's break it down, because this is classic. Now, Scott, you and I both know an assassination attempt changes everything. When that bullet flew, it shattered the media's fake narratives overnight. Suddenly, the Trump is a dictator nonsense wasn't playing so well, and it was his blood spilling on stage. It reminded Americans viscerally, unmistakably, who the real enemy of democracy is, and it isn't Trump. And Scott, let's be clear, it wasn't some random isolated event. This is a result of years of media lies, deep state corruption, and radical left-wing rhetoric that told people Trump was some kind of existential evil and that he had to be stopped by any means necessary. Well, Scott, when you repeat that garbage long enough, someone acts on it. And when that moment happens, it woke up millions of Americans who might not have been paying attention before. So it made them realize this isn't politics as usual. This is a fight for survival. Now, Elon Musk stepping in, that was a big moment, and not just because of his wealth. Though, let's be honest, Scott, when the richest man in the world backs you, it helps. But the real significance was that Musk represents the future. I mean, get this. This is really good, because you could imagine this is Rush, who died years ago, saying all this before any of this was here. He's the guy who actually builds things, who innovates, who breaks the system. And he saw Trump as the only candidate who wasn't going to kneecap American industry with socialist garbage. And here's the kicker, Scott. Musk's endorsement broke through the independents, the younger voters, to the tech crowd that hates the government overreach. They saw Musk standing with Trump and thought, wait a minute, if he's supporting Trump, maybe I've been lied to about him all along. The moment RFK Jr. endorsed Trump, it fractured the old Democrat coalition, and the left hated it. They despised it because it proved what I was been saying for years. The modern Democrat Party is not the party of JFK anymore. JFK Jr. brought over the old school liberals who still believe in free speech, bodily autonomy, and fighting the deep state. His endorsement showed the cracks in the system. It told millions of former Democrats it's okay to leave the party. You're not crazy for voting Trump. And Scott, that was huge. But Scott, he says Scott a lot. It was a little bit annoying, but, hey, that's how you win friends and influence people, is a book written like 100 years ago. And let's see. Yeah, it was like in the 1930s. But Scott, as big as these moments were, none of them were the thing that elected Trump, because the truth is, Trump didn't win 2024. The American people did. People are sick of the lies, sick of the censorship, sick of the corruption, the weaponized justice system, the open borders, the inflation, the crime, the consistent gaslighting. They looked around and said, enough. And when the system tried to kill Trump, literally, they realized that what was really at stake. So, Scott, was it the assassination attempt? Partly. Musk endorsement? It helped. JFK Jr., he played a role. But at the end of the day, what elected Trump was the people waking up. And once that happened, nothing, not the media, not the deep state, not globalists, could stop it. Not the globalists could stop it. He says, all right, Scott, what's next? Because this is getting good. So I ask him, do you think Doge has a chance at making significant progress cutting down the federal government? I've been keeping an eye on this whole Department of Government Efficiency Doge saga, especially the recent moves against the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID now, and USAID has long been a bastion of bureaucratic bloat. He's got some alliteration there. That's pretty good. Sending billions overseas with. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to do all this. You can. I'll put the link into below in the description if you want to read the rest of it. And there's another one. I'll do a separate video on that one concerning the his what's heaven like and stuff. And that's pretty cool stuff there.